World War I. The war meant to end all wars, but ironically braced humanity for a bigger catastrophe. The First World War erupted in August 1914, with nations across Europe mobilizing their armies. Millions of men were drawn into what leaders believed would be a quick conflict. Germany launched the Schlieffen Plan, invading Belgium to quickly strike France. The violation of Belgian neutrality brought Britain into the war. Belgium resisted fiercely, slowing Germany's advance, but the German army pressed forward toward Paris. The Battle of the Marne in September 1914 stopped the German advance. French and British forces pushed back, ending hopes of a swift German victory. Both sides dug trenches from the North Sea to Switzerland. The Western Front became a bloody stalemate. Life in the trenches was miserable. Mud, rats, disease, and constant shelling made survival as difficult as fighting. New weapons like machine guns, barbed wire, and heavy artillery gave defenders an enormous advantage. Attempts to break through often resulted in massive casualties for little gain. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, battles between Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Russia raged across vast distances. The Russians mobilized quickly, surprising Germany, but suffered devastating defeats at Tannenberg and the Masurian Lakes. Austria-Hungary struggled against Russia and Serbia, requiring German assistance to stabilize its fronts. In the south, the Ottoman Empire joined the war, siding with Germany and Austria-Hungary. The Gallipoli campaign in 1915 saw British and Anzac forces attempt to capture the Dardanelles but failed disastrously. The war spread to Africa and the Middle East, where colonial troops and resources were pulled into the conflict. Naval warfare also played a crucial role. Germany used U-boats to attack Allied shipping, threatening Britain's supplies. The sinking of civilian ships like the Lusitania in 1915 caused outrage, particularly in the United States. On the Western Front, battles became even more destructive. The Battle of Verdun in 1916 lasted 10 months, costing hundreds of thousands of lives. The Somme offensive followed, with British and French forces suffering enormous losses on the first day alone. Neither Verdun nor the Somme broke the stalemate, but both drained the strength of Germany and the Allies alike. Technology advanced rapidly. Tanks appeared on the battlefield, though early models were unreliable. Airplanes, once used only for reconnaissance, began to engage in dogfights and bombing runs. Poison gas introduced new horrors, burning lungs and blinding soldiers in the trenches. On the Eastern Front, Russia launched the Brusilov offensive in 1916, achieving temporary success but exhausting its army. Russia's internal turmoil grew as shortages and casualties mounted, weakening the Tsar's government. In 1917, revolution swept Russia. The Tsar abdicated, and a provisional government struggled to keep fighting. Later that year, the Bolsheviks seized power, promising peace, land, and bread. Russia signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk in 1918, withdrawing from the war and ceding huge territories to Germany. This allowed Germany to shift its focus entirely to the Western Front. Meanwhile, the United States entered the war in 1917 after repeated German U-boat attacks and the revelation of the Zimmermann telegram. American troops and resources gave the Allies a fresh boost in manpower and morale. Germany launched the Spring Offensive of 1918, hoping to win before American forces arrived in full strength. The offensive initially succeeded, driving deep into Allied lines, but German forces became overextended. Allied counterattacks, supported by American troops, pushed the Germans back in the summer of 1918. The 100 Days Offensive broke German resistance, recapturing territory and forcing retreat. By autumn, Germany's allies were collapsing. Bulgaria, the Ottoman Empire, and Austria-Hungary all sought peace. Germany faced starvation at home, strikes and political unrest. The army could no longer continue fighting. In November 1918, Kaiser Wilhelm II abdicated, and Germany declared itself a republic. On November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed. The Great War had ended. Over 4 years, more than 16 million people had died, with countless more wounded and displaced. The world had changed forever. Empires crumbled, borders shifted, and new nations emerged. The war introduced mechanized slaughter on a scale never before seen in human history. Trenches scarred the landscapes of France and Belgium, reminders of endless artillery bombardments. The psychological scars on survivors were equally deep, with shell shock haunting veterans for life. Civilians suffered as much as soldiers, enduring hunger, disease, and bombings. The Ottoman Empire collapsed, giving rise to modern Turkey and reshaping the Middle East. Austria-Hungary dissolved into separate nations, redrawing the map of Central Europe. Germany faced heavy penalties, reparations, and territorial losses in the Treaty of Versailles. The harsh terms of peace sowed seeds of resentment that would later fuel another global conflict. The League of Nations was created to prevent future wars, but its power was limited. The First World War demonstrated the destructive potential of industrialized warfare. Entire generations of young men were lost, leaving deep scars in every society involved. Artists, writers, and poets struggled to capture the horror and futility of the conflict. The war changed social roles, with women entering the workforce in unprecedented numbers. Colonial troops from Africa, India, and Asia played key roles, altering imperial relationships. Technology born in the war, like tanks, airplanes, and chemical weapons, reshaped future conflicts. The war was supposed to be the war to end all wars, but it failed to achieve that promise. Instead, it left unresolved tensions and bitterness across Europe. Germany felt humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles, fueling nationalist anger. In Italy, dissatisfaction with the outcome created political instability. Russia's withdrawal and revolution inspired communist movements worldwide. The Middle East, divided into spheres of influence, became a new source of conflict. The United States emerged as a major global power after its decisive role in the war. Britain and France, though victorious, were left weakened and deeply in debt. The destruction of war left many questioning old ideas of honor and glory. Philosophies of disillusionment, cynicism, and modernism spread throughout culture. The war also inspired calls for independence in colonies around the globe. Nationalist movements gained momentum, reshaping the future of empires. Medical advances like improved surgery and blood transfusions emerged from wartime necessity. But the human cost overshadowed all scientific and technological progress. The trenches became symbols of futility, sacrifice, and unimaginable suffering. Generals were criticized for reckless strategies that cost millions of lives. Ordinary soldiers became heroes, yet also victims of an industrial killing machine. By 1919, the world struggled to recover, mourning its dead and rebuilding broken societies. The Paris Peace Conference redrew maps, but not always fairly or wisely. The war left unresolved grievances that would explode 2 decades later. World War I marked the end of one era and the troubled beginning of another. It reshaped politics, economics, and culture across the globe. Its legacy of destruction and suffering haunted generations to come. The First World War remains one of the deadliest and most transformative conflicts in human history. It showed how nationalism, militarism, and alliances could plunge the world into chaos. And it proved that modern war, once unleashed, could not be controlled. The world after 1918 would never again be the same. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. More content like this will be soon available.